everybody, and welcome back to the 5 O'Clock Sweats podcast. As always, I'm Ryan, joined by both of my handsome buddies.
Whoa, what's up? I'm Pennsylvania Derek. How's it going?
Oh yeah, I'm Chris still.
Chris is a little rusty still, but it's okay. We're working him back into it.
Just so you know, if you're watching this, I had this outfit on first.
There's no way to prove that, dude. We match. Me and Chris we got the clear glasses frames, we got the backwards white hat, we get the gray top. Like I don't know, how did this happen?
You guys
and Ryan, you're basically in the same colorway as us.
Kinda, yeah. I mean, this is like a
gray
purplish shirt, and I got it's a little purple. Yeah, it's hard to tell with the lighting I've got in here.
Yeah, color theory is fucking weird, man.
A little more purple, but this is it's like a grayish hat. So yeah, I didn't get the memo, but I felt it. I could feel it.
Well, here we are in the gray episode, and what are we going to talk about today?
Today we're just going to talk about stuff that we've been doing. Maybe some games that are on the horizon that we're excited to get our hands on, because the gaming space right now is not robust or precise. So yeah, there's some games that have caught my eye recently that have really made me kind of excited. I've seen some gameplay and I'm like, that looks like I could have fun playing that. But we'll see. So I guess I'll just jump into those first. So I don't know. I've been on the socials, been on Twitter, YouTube, and the algorithm gifted me with some gameplay for a couple new games that are coming out. One of them has a date. The other one does not have a date. So I'll start with the one that caught my eye first, and that was Space Marine 2.
Oh, Space Marine! Space Marine! I yelled the word Space Marine more times in my life than I can count, with no context for it.
So have you played the original Space Marine?
Not a once.
Okay. I was going to say,
we just used to yell it at each other from like 6th to 12th grade.
Okay. I mean, I'm not even like a Warhammer guy. Like I know of Warhammer. I know the little figurines. Like I've had friends that have painted those little guys, and I'm like, it's not for me. But this game looks like it's for me.
Yeah.
And the gameplay I've seen, it's basically just one like co-op level. But what I first thought of, and Chris, I think this will catch your ears. This game looks like a combination of definitely two different games that I've played. But I was trying to think of a third game to put in there, and after watching more gameplay, I think I found it. So this game seems like a combination of Gears of War.
Strong start.
You got the third person shooter vibes, very gory and like gratuitous gore. Helldivers 2. You have kind of the whole
very similar
fighting against hordes of aliens, and then there's some parrying and like combo stuff going on with like the hand-to-hand combat. So I threw an Elden Ring. I was like, it's probably the biggest reach, but there is some timing and parrying with the hand-to-hand combat, and there are boss fights that are they're more Elden Ring-esque. So that was the third game I came up with. But needless to say, I think that 3 combination of games is enticing. I think that's an exciting trio you got there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I've not seen any gameplay of this. I'm actually looking at it now. I think I saw on Steam or something at like a promo for it. It looks interesting. I just have I don't really know much about these games. I'm just looking at some of the images. So the weapons seem like very over the top, like Gears style, and then
Yeah.
there's quite a few melee looking weapons, swords. This blade looks like it has like a chainsaw blade to it, which is pretty
That's what I'm
dope.
looking at too.
Yeah, it's basically like the
Um,
Lancer chainsaw, but it's a sword.
Yeah, that's pretty dope. The aesthetics of the game are cool looking. I agree. It's very like dark. I think it does
Mhm.
give off Gears vibes probably more than anything. I have no idea gameplay wise though. I can see what you mean about the Helldivers. I mean, this
There's
is
a
a
lot of
game
big
though,
explosions.
because isn't
Yeah.
there a Warhammer game on Game Pass? So is this going to be like a Game Pass game, or is that like down the road kind of thing? Because I think that's like a situation in which I would try it. I'm not sure if this is a game I'm going to go out and get like day one.
Mm.
Yeah, so I don't know about the Game Pass aspect of it. I have not seen anything indicating it's coming to Game Pass. And this game comes out next month, so I feel like I would have seen something. They would have been pushed. They would have been marketing the Game Pass day one,
Yeah,
like they do with every game. But
I'm sure.
Yeah, so I don't know about that, but I've seen enough of the gameplay. I've watched, I would say about maybe like 45 minutes to an hour of gameplay total, and I'm sold. Like I will buy this game. I'll pay full price for this game when it comes out. I think it looks really fun.
Damn, commitment.
Here's a weird tidbit, but it's actually they settled on 3-player co-op, as opposed to 4. I was just reading a little article. I guess 4 was. I don't know if there were some technical limitations to that, or if it just didn't. Like the gameplay was a little too crazy with 4 people. I don't know, but I think that's always interesting when like games really. I don't know why, but they keep going towards like 3s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I find that to be very strange. But I will say this: as the years go on, it's harder and harder to get everyone on at the same time. So the less people you need is sort of, I guess, easier in that sense. But it is an odd number.
3 is interesting. I feel like 4 is the sweet spot for especially like a co-op shooter, like Apex. Even Apex added quads to Battle Royale. 3 is weird because I feel like we always had like when you're playing with friends. I don't know why this happens to me, but I feel like we have the trio, and then there's always that 4th. There's like I feel like then you have to make a tough decision. Like who am I going to play with?
Yeah,
this person, that person.
I'm sure there's got to be data out there that supports like finding 2 other friends to play with is probably significantly easier than getting a full quad together. So. Maybe that's just the easiest way to get people on. And I'm also sure it has something to do with the gameplay as well. I mean, balancing wise, adding an extra player in is probably pretty significant, more than probably most people think, in terms of, the difficulty of the enemies, how many enemies, obviously also what's going on the screen. There's that much more from a network standpoint and from an actual like rendering standpoint that needs to be happening. So I think there's a lot of limitations there, and games are only getting more graphically intense. So I would assume there's probably some of that at play too. But regardless, I mean, like Gears was what? Gears was just 2-player co-op, wasn't it? For campaign. And I always thought that was fun. There was like something cool about like the wingman,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that game was perfect for 2 people. I feel like 3 people would have been doable, but 2 people just felt right. And that was also a 2007 game. And I felt like that game at the time was pushing the limits of the 360 just visually. So maybe even, I don't even know if a third person was practical back then.
And it also has to fit in like the story too, right? Because like at least in Gears, there's a lot of like set pieces, like animations that you have to go through, even just traversing through the levels. So by adding like a whole, like an extra person there, like you change a lot of those dynamics. So, I mean, that's interesting. I'll be honest, this game wasn't like terribly on my radar, but I'd be willing to check it out. It looks neat. And I'm always looking for something new to play. That's the thing. We're going to kind of talk about that a little bit more in the episode, but being as it is summer, actually, this is the exciting time of summer for gaming because there's not much to play, but this is when like, you're like a month or 2 away from like all the good stuff coming out, but summer is notoriously pretty dry. So I find
True.
any game that can drop in September has like a good shot at getting my attention for at least like 2 or 3 weeks, and potentially longer before the COD brain rot sets back in for me.
The COD brain rot.
Yeah, and it looks like this is coming September 9th. Is that correct?
Space Marine 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm excited. Like I think I mentioned this before, but I think co-op shooters are going to be huge moving forward. I'm finding that that's probably going to be the type of game that I'm looking to play. Like I still will compete. Like I still want to be competitive PvP, but we're getting up there. In my old age, I feel like a co-op shooter where we're just me and my buddies are playing it or just fighting against AI is just going to be the way forward for me moving forward for the most part. But yeah, I mean, aesthetically, this game looks great. Combat looks fun. It just looks like a good time. It just over the top, kind of brainless. Not completely. Not when I say brainless, I mean just like there's so much happening on the screen. You're just like you're eating it up. It's like a visual treat. There's so much gore. So many enemies on the screen. And that's what caught my eye first was just like the number of things on the screen happening. I was like, wow, this is nuts. Like hordes of enemies, and there's like things in the sky, there's things in the ground. Meanwhile, you're doing all these cool moves, doing like 360s with your sword and
cartwheels.
Cartwheels. And there's different classes in this game too, which, of course. But,
social studies.
Yeah, math, gym, art. But there's different classes. So there's going to be a character or a strategy for everybody. Like everyone's play style will be catered to. I think that I think that game's going to be fire. I hope you guys give it a try. If not, I'm sure I'll go at it solo for a bit and see how that goes.
All right. Well, I mean, drop me a message around September 9th, and I'm sure you'll influence me to play it pretty much immediately. So
yeah, just like I did with Helldivers, and look how that turned out.
Well, Derek is very easy to convince.
Yeah.
If you ever want to just get your feet wet in sales. Try to sell anything to Derek, and you'll probably get him to buy it. He won't use it, but he'll buy
it. This man, the one talking, has bought V Rising, logged in, went AFK in a bush, never launched it again. This man also might get Space Marine 2 on September 9th. Play it for however long and never touch it again. I think I'm level 14 in Helldivers 2 or something like that. Y'all, the three of us were talking, and I purchased Game Pass. Never once did we play anything on Game Pass, so I just deactivated it.
You bought a Steam Deck?
Anything that sounds like a good idea, I will just fully commit to. Otherwise, I'll overthink it.
Hey, I envy you, honestly. That's great. I love that.
Yeah, full fucking send on that one. So September 9th, if you're looking for a second or third.
And I didn't see any bushes in the Space Divers 2 gameplay, so you won't be able to hide in any bushes. You'll have to be out in the open fighting with me side by side.
Space Divers, Space
Divers.
Did I say Space Divers?
Yeah, he's just making up games at this point.
No, that does
Space
look
Marine.
Really cool though. I might actually want to play this. All right, need to close the tab before I influence myself.
It's a game that's like I know I'm gonna have fun playing it when I can watch it for an hour and not be bored.
yeah.
When the gameplay looks fun, my assumption is that it's gonna be fun to play. So
that's true. I've not actually. I'm gonna bring up a game that I've been able to watch for a little while and somewhat be entertained, but overall, it's been very hard to watch any kind of streaming because it's just like if I don't even want to watch the game, how am I going to want to play the game?
Yeah, that's a great point.
I just, I can't get into some of the games right now, but I would say I'm probably most looking forward to Delta Force,
Delta.
What is it? What is it called? The Delta Force, like Hawk? What?
Hawk Down or something like Black Hawk
Hawk
Down?
Ops.
Hawk.
Hawk Ops. I
Hawk
hate that
Ops.
part. Just call it Delta
Hawk
Force.
Ops.
It should have been Hawk
Hawk
Tour.
Hawk Ops. God
Dude,
damn
good
it.
Delta
Hawk Tua.
Force, Hawk Tua.
Dude, they could have had a Hawk Tua girl skin in the game.
Yeah, all right,
That's-
chill out, bro.
You're basically printing money at that point.
This guy's out of control. But anyway,
So yeah, what is this game? Say more
so
words.
this is Delta Force. If you remember, was like this was like a series like back in the day. I don't know. I want to say like probably 2000s ish.
Yeah, I think
but you can look it up. But like it was like an OG like first person shooter series, and then it kind of just like bit the dust, and then a new wave of games came through. But what it looks like, and I swear to God, every first person shooter is marketed as this. It is Battlefield and COD, right? You have like that kind of more larger scale Battlefield aspect, and then the gunplay is more Call of Duty looking, in my opinion. But the kicker is it's I think it has traditional multiplayer. But it also has kind of like what Call of Duty tried to do with DMZ, which is like the extraction mode, which I think is probably going to be the better part of the game. It's, supposed to compete with like Tarkov and, whatnot. Here's the thing. I mean, we were promised this before. Call of Duty basically said like this DMZ mode they were putting out 2 years ago was like the Tarkov killer, and it was anything but that. So
no, I don't think anybody played that really.
Not enough, obviously, because in Modern Warfare 3, they totally ditched it. So evidently there wasn't even enough to keep investing into development. But this game looks good. It's hard to tell right now because you got a lot of the big names kind of behind it, which is, I'm sure there's a lot of sponsorships and, pay to play and promote kind of deal. But it looks fun. It has like the looting and inventory aspects of like a Tarkov game, but it has like the, I think the easier, the more accessible shooting mechanics of like Call of Duty or, even Battlefield. Visually, it looks like both too. So it looks fun. I don't know. I think it's going to be actually, I don't know if it's a free to play, to be honest.
I don't know either.
Yeah,
but they just delayed it.
Register, but that's about it.
Did they delay it out of 2024?
Well, they delayed like even like the alpha, I think.
Well, the alpha's being played now.
Yeah, but they delayed. Let me see.
Because last time I heard, it was still on track for 2024. Just there was no date given.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, their website doesn't really tell me anything, which means that maybe I need to look elsewhere on the
because if you go on Steam, it still doesn't have a release, and it lets you like sign up to like be like a beta tester, but it doesn't go any further than that. So I don't know what the status is, but I know that they ran into an issue fairly recently, and there was some kind of delay. I don't know.
So Wikipedia is saying 2025, but it's Wikipedia, so.
So it must be true.
Absolutely. Actually, I'm going to cite that in my college paper.
You should. Yeah, no,
it's true because anyone can go in there and edit it and put the right information.
Well, I would think, and maybe somebody watching or listening knows, but I would think if it was releasing this year, we would have a date at this point. I mean, we're heading into September, and I wouldn't foresee a game releasing in the next couple months not having a date.
Yeah,
and honestly,
I feel like if we're in August and it's only in alpha, like that's a real short alpha and a real short beta for something you're putting out in the next 4 months.
Granted, alphas and betas are like, it shouldn't be, but it's sort of used interchangeably now. I'm not convinced that, and there's a big difference between an alpha and a beta in today's gaming world. Even I don't think there's much difference between an alpha and a full release.
Yeah, that's actually that's what I was going to say. That's true.
Yeah, I guess
I feel like
they're
more marketing terms now than anything. But yes, in theory, if this
I don't really play like early access stuff anymore.
Yeah, sometimes it can honestly sour everything before, prematurely. But I'm looking forward to it. I really want to. I've always wanted the Tarkov feel, but not quite as like hardcore. I think a lot of people can relate. Like Tarkov's cool and everything, but it's like, dude, I don't want to be loading bullets into my magazine. I don't want my gun jamming. Like, I get it. It's realistic, but I'm playing a video game, so there's a certain level of realism that I want out the window. I want to have fun first and foremost. So this looks to be fun, but as with anything that comes out these days, I feel like, it can look fun, but how long can it hold you? Just like, Helldivers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ryan was gushing over Helldivers, and I don't know the last time he played it.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you honestly. I will go back, I think, because they did just release an update, but they shot themselves in the foot. Like,
how?
I don't want to get into it because it makes me upset, but they Arrowhead went from being like, wow, this studio is so innovative and they're doing everything great, everything right, to not. There's one stupid decision that caused so much blowback, and they haven't helped themselves with a lot of the quality of life changes they made. They continually decide to nerf all the weapons into the ground, and I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully they can turn it around, because I do love that game and I think it is a special game, but they've kind of tarnished it, unfortunately. But anyway,
too many games do that now, though. It's like you wonder who makes the decisions, because like they could start off on a great foot and then totally screw it up, just with like bad decision after bad decision. And then I think the other thing is like there's this common thing now where like everything just gets nerfed. It's because I'm sure it's easier, right, to nerf one or two things rather than buff, everything else to kind of meet it. Let's just nerf this one gun as opposed to making the enemies, more challenging and this different and that different. It's like we could just change one number versus, 300 numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
a game.
Yeah.
I was going to say, especially a co-op shooter where balancing shouldn't really matter that much. Like, just make every gun fun to play, fun to use. Just let everything be overpowered and just let the players go at it. Like, I don't know.
Hey man, that's the kind of thinking they need over there, man. Outside the box.
Yeah, but should be whining about meta guns and shit in a PvE game.
But they've been weird about that since the get-go. Remember, like my whole gripe all along, and still the reason I won't, is they're anti-cheat.
Well, yeah,
right. Like it's a PvE game. It's co-op PvE. Like they're so worried about like anti-cheat and like metas and balancing things, and who gives a shit? So let people have fun. Like I don't understand. Like it's just like everything. It's just over-engineered and over-complicated. It's like sometimes just less is more.
Just listen to your audience, because like the game was. I mean, they had 400,000 concurrent players on at one point in like the first month. Like,
wow.
What people, who's looking at that and is like, let's change it up a bit.
Yeah.
You're doing great. If it's not broken, don't fix it. And then if you find that your audience is complaining about something, then you can change it. Like, they were changing things without listening to like nobody was saying nerf these guns, change these enemy types or whatever. Like,
just walked into a room, fucking twisted a bunch of knobs and left.
Yeah. I mean, let's just see, like, let's take a poll, like, okay guys, what do you want us to change in the game? And then go based off that. But they had a good thing going. But it makes me sad. I'm about to cry.
All right, well, relax.
Delta Force. Dude,
I don't think I'm getting that one. That one doesn't seem like a me game.
No, I don't think so. If you're stale on the COD Battlefield vibe, then I don't think this will turn it around for you. But
yeah, I think the last COD I enjoyed was COD 4. Way like what, 13 years ago? Is that math good?
Yeah, I think that's actually right. 2007. I'm pretty sure.
So that's way 17.
It was the same year as Halo 3.
And
same year
Battlefield
as
Bad Company 2. When was that?
Probably 6, 7, 8.
Survey says, whoa, Google brought me to shopping. That's not what I wanted. Well, don't know how to get it off of that. So,
Guys, we had 2007. We had Gears of War, Halo 3, and Call of Duty 4 come out
20
around the same time.
Bad Company 2.
Bad Company is 2010.
Yeah.
Bad Company 2. I think that's what you were saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the golden era. We don't even have to go back that way, but it'll never be like that. But yeah, I think that ultimately, I still think Call of Duty will come out on top. I think Battlefield's probably going to end up on the bottom, surprisingly. If you go back a decade or more ago, Battlefield, there was a time where I gave up Call of Duty for Battlefield and then came back to Call of Duty as Battlefield just continued to like bury themselves. And I don't think they've quite ever come out of hiding. And I think this is going to slide in probably at the number 2. And whether you like it, agree with it, or whatever, I still think that for a first-person shooter game, now that it's so prominent on PC and, of course, on consoles, I don't think you're going to beat Call of Duty. And I'm talking about numbers, like sales and just player count. I don't think you're going to beat that. I'm not saying that it's
hard
better.
to disagree.
Yeah,
Call of Duty's a monster. I mean, it's basically printing money every year they come out with a game.
And Game Pass is, I don't know if you saw, but like Modern Warfare 3 is on Game Pass now. That's going to be, I can't see, like, I'd be so interested to see what the numbers end up being, because there's got to be a huge upfront loss on sales, right? Just copies of the game. Like, you're talking $70 a pop. How many people are just going to stop paying that to then play on Game Pass? But how many people are going to subscribe to Game Pass, for how many months? And, what's the retention going to be like on that? Also, more players, probably more microtransactions. So I'm really curious to see how their numbers pan out. I'm sure they've done that. Of course they have. So I would think that they probably come out on top. But I think that was a discussion with Xbox, like even very recently, is they weren't sure yet if they were going to drop it day one on Game Pass or not. But I do think Game Pass is going up in price.
They already raised the price
to 20, right?
Yeah.
Or Game Pass Ultimate, should I say? They're all going up.
Yeah, $19.99 plus tax.
Which even that, I'll be honest, like, it still is the best deal in gaming, but I think Call of Duty really solidifies that.
Oh my god, yeah. If they're going to release every Call of Duty on Game Pass moving forward, then yeah, I mean, that's reason enough for most people, at least.
Absolutely.
And you're still getting those Xbox exclusives still day one, no matter what. Like whenever the next Gears comes out, whenever the next Halo comes out,
whenever the next platformer comes out,
the next side Bethesda
scroller.
Game.
Dude, they're such. They just don't understand, man. Like, cut that shit out. Give us real games. They're like, Phil Spencer gets like so bonered up over like indie side scrollers and crap.
Listen, Hi-Fi Rush was a banger.
Nothing wrong with those games. Nothing wrong with those games. I'm just saying.
Hi-Fi Rush was a banger. I'm not saying it wasn't a side scroller, but it was little indie studio, and they made a banger.
I appreciate the thought that went into that, the creativity. I tried it, not my cup of tea, but I can appreciate that. But at the end of the day, that doesn't sell Xboxes.
No, but they're not the main selling point. Like the main selling point are the big AAA games that come out. But there's a home for those little indie games, and the more people that get Game Pass, the more people that'll be exposed to those games and maybe give them a try because they're free. Why not? Mm-hmm. Unless you have a Series S and you can only have like 5 games on your console at a time.
Like you?
Unless you drop $200 on the 1 terabyte storage drive, which I might have done that.
Bro, I cannot.
It was.
Did you say 1 terabyte?
Yeah.
Dude, it blows my mind because I got my 2 terabyte SSD for like $130. I'm not dogging you. I'm just saying, like, because it's okay. it's like Xbox branded. It's just such bullshit.
It's official Microsoft merchandise, man.
Yeah, and it's
made from the finest material, the finest
Egyptian cotton,
the finest engineering.
Spider silk.
it works. So whatever.
Cricket feet.
All right, let's talk
Giraffe
about Splitgate. That's one that's on our list, and I want to dive into that. Before, I know we're going to go into a different direction, but I want to touch on this. I want to see kind of what each of your thoughts is on a game that. This is how I look at it. Like, imagine you start a sub shop, right? You open a small business, it's a sub shop, and it's like, all right, it's doing pretty good. And then like eventually it's not profitable. It doesn't make sense. You close it down, right? You're out of business. And then maybe like a year and a half, 2 years later, you say, oh, I'm going to open a sub shop again, but it's going to have pizza. You know what I mean? It's like, didn't we just prove that like this isn't it?
Oh man,
didn't we just do
but
that?
But it did have its time for a little bit.
Yeah, this has existed, right? Has this not released?
Yes. So Splitgate 1 has been out for a few years.
2019, right?
Yeah, but then it had a resurgence in like 2021, 2022 maybe during like I guess kind of in the pandemic or post-pandemic, but it had like a random resurgence and it had a ton of players on. Like I forget the Steam numbers, but they like spiked out of nowhere. And then it fizzled out after a while because Splitgate 1 it's fun, but it doesn't really have a lot of staying power.
So like, they're coming back with something new to add on? Like what?
Splitgate 2, baby. It's a brand new game built from the ground up.
2.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
but here's
this
the thing.
is definitely not released yet, huh?
No. They shut down Splitgate 1. It's not like the game that you can't play Splitgate anymore.
Did they shut down the servers officially?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a small dev team, so I get that, but it's like your proof of concept proved that like it didn't have staying power. So I don't know is quality of life changes and Unreal Engine 5 and this and that. The other thing, is it going to suddenly change all that? I don't know.
I think it's a fresh coat of paint, but it's gonna fundamentally play a little different.
Yeah, I mean, especially just moving engines too. Like even that without the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, it looks very pretty. Like the screenshots they've released, and this game doesn't come out till next year, so these are still early. The game looks stunning. Actually, I think it looks vibrant, looks polished, clean. I don't know. It gives me. I mean, obviously, it gives me Halo vibes because the Splitgate devs are notably huge Halo fans. I mean, they modeled a lot of the gameplay. They even named a lot of the guns after Halo guns.
Sick.
Yeah, so that's why I had like a I don't know, like a 2-month love affair with Splitgate 1. Like I was obsessed with that game, and you know any Halo skill I had left translated pretty well. So I found the gameplay loop pretty familiar and fun. Now the portals they're gimmicky, but not in a bad way. Like they're fun. Like they're definitely like a very interesting idea. And I think they're incorporated in the gameplay very well. I love that it carries momentum through the portal. So you can like place a portal. You can look down a building at the ground, place a portal, jump, and then you can jump through the portal, and then your momentum will carry you, and then you can like fly across the map when you come out the other side. So I think like the physics aspect like that is very unique and fun.
I don't think you can answer this question actually, but do you think it feels more like Portal or more like Halo?
Feels more like Halo.
Interesting.
At the end of the day,
the gameplay that I remember seeing from back then, I feel like I couldn't decide. It looked very 50-50 to me.
I think it depends on how you play, like your play style. Because if you're watching like high level Splitgate gameplay, there's a lot more portal usage.
Yeah.
Whereas like me being a casual,
it's so like, cool.
I use portals sometimes. Like I mostly use portals when I'm like trying to cross map somebody, and like I'll shoot a portal like behind somebody and try to shoot them through my portal and hit them in the back. But yeah, I would say portal usage for me was minimal. I was mainly just running around and shooting people because that's what I enjoy
that's what
the most.
You do.
Yeah, I wasn't there.
Gotta let that dog bark.
Yeah.
Let that thing sing.
Hungry dogs run
Hanging.
faster.
Oh God,
Well,
I feel like
this
I could
is,
go row in the Olympics now.
I mean, I feel like this might be a bit of a hot take, but I don't think that an arena first person shooter game
Mhm.
can survive in 2024 and beyond. And maybe I should say maybe like a newer.
Yeah, I
IP.
agree. Because like,
But I struggle with this. And again, I'm not saying that those are bad, right? Like inherently Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War, although it's third person, like all the games that we talk about and love, like they all started from basically like an arena shooter, like
Yeah, like
5v5, whatever, game modes. Yeah. I just feel like there's just too much of that, and there has been too much of that for so long that, like, if you look at the FPS community, like, what do they want? Well, we're seeing a lot of this extraction kind of shooter. Like, I think that's going to slowly become like the new like battle royale, right? Where it's like one or two games introduce it, and then it's like every game has to have that.
mhm.
Battle royales, I still think needed, but that's another one where it's like, if something a little bit better could come along, I could see that phasing out. It's lasted much longer than I thought it would. But again, that's it's a non-traditional, take on the FPS. But it's like, I think that's why Halo struggles. I think that's why Splitgate struggled. I think that's why, we even remember like Rogue Company or like any of those games. None of them are actually bad. It's just, I don't know if that formula works for like the mass audience anymore.
I don't think, yeah, I mean, you have a point, and I think I agree with you in the sense that I don't think an arena shooter in 2024 is going to be like the biggest game on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that ever happening, really. Maybe for like a time, like when it first comes out, but then over the I don't know, 3 months after release, like it's not going to be top of the charts. But I don't think like a game like Splitgate 2 needs to come out and like take the gaming space by storm. Like it doesn't have to be the biggest game to come out of the year. Like it's not going to surpass Black Ops 6, or it's not going to surpass maybe even like Delta Force in player count, but it just has to do well enough, and if it gets like a cult like maybe not a cult following, but like a dedicated contingent of fans that play it. And I think a lot of Halo fans will gravitate towards that because Halo Infinite is in the shitter right now. And I feel like a lot of fans because there's a lot of arena shooter fans out there that are just waiting for a really good arena shooter to come out. And I think a lot of those fans will give this game a try, and hopefully the devs do a good job and finish the game, make sure it's completed when they release it. And I think the fresh coat of paint in the Unreal Engine is going to do wonders for it, because definitely playing Splitgate 1, it is fun. It's arcadey, but it feels cheap. It feels really cheap when you're playing it. And I feel like the Unreal Engine is going to give this game a AAA feel, which will help it immensely. Because there are people that just don't like playing against. People just don't like playing games if they don't like the way it looks, or they don't like the way like it feels. Really, like people do judge games by their cover.
But I agree. But here's kind of where I'm coming from. I think from like a business standpoint, like gaming has changed because we've talked about this in previous episodes. We've totally gone into the live service game, right? So no longer does the like the sale of the game kind of make it, right? So you're saying like, it doesn't have to do big numbers, which I agree. It doesn't have to be like some crazy big game out of the gate, but it has to have, it has to retain players, and not for 6 months, but for years.
Yeah.
To basically warrant the investment that they're putting into it again. And that's where I think it's like these games are tough because, you look at what makes money, like microtransactions. And where do microtransactions flourish? Well, they flourish in battle royale and these extraction shooters. You know what I mean? It's like, for better or for worse, I just think that's kind of where they flourish the most, because you get more screen time and there's just more shit that you can kind of drip feed and, sell people. And I just don't know that like Splitgate 2 doing all this stuff, I'm sure it's going to be great and it'll look good. But will it be able to hold people for years? Like, look at Apex. We're on year, what, 6,
Season
5? I don't know.
Season 22. Just crazy.
Right? So you have to like hold people for a long ass time to warrant the investment nowadays. And I think that's what they saw with Splitgate 1 is it just wasn't, but it wasn't worth like what they're putting into it. So, they shut it down and like started on the next project. But I would have liked to see them take what they learned and incorporate it into something bigger, and it can still have the bones of Splitgate, but I don't think Splitgate 2 is the move.
I don't know. We'll see. If you remember, look, I'm thinking back on, old arena shooters. They were, unless you're Call of Duty, these games would release and then it would be like 3 years before the next game came out. So in a sense, like Splitgate 2 doesn't have to be like the live service game. I don't know if that's what they're going for. I haven't looked into it that much. There's not a lot of information out on the game. As of right now, besides maybe there's a trailer, and I think they're doing gameplay later this week. I don't know if they're going to go for the live service formula. Like, I don't know if this is going to be like the next 10 years of Splitgate, or if they're going to, it'll still be live service, but only to allow it to live for like 2 to 3 years, and then the next game will come out, Splitgate 3, maybe. I don't know. Since there's no single player aspect of this game, I would assume that they're going to probably go for the live service aspect and try to keep it, give it like a 3 to 4 year lifespan at least, and then if they want to come out with a sequel, they can. But I don't know.
How do you release new content for that? You update some guns, right? You put some more stuff in there. You give maybe equipment, abilities.
Yeah,
new maps.
Exactly. It's new maps, right? Maps are like a big thing.
Maps
new game modes,
new guns.
If they do that, sure. But
this is what it comes down to: is they have to develop a very solid esports scene, and that's the problem with arena shooters. If you're only going down the arena shooter like avenue, you have to, in 2024, you have to develop a good esports scene, because it's all about eyes, right? Twitch views, YouTube views, like you need more eyes, whether it's people playing or watching. And I think that's where Halo struggled, right? Because I think Halo's esports scene, although it's been around for a long time, I don't think it was drawing the numbers.
They're still like, they're selling out those events, so people are going to them. It just maybe not doing the Twitch numbers.
Yeah, that's what I meant online. I think
they'll do like the occasional Twitch drop. Like they'll do the occasional Twitch drop or whatever, and people will watch for the drops.
Now, personally, I don't think they're going to succeed as an esport. I don't think there's any way that this succeeds, because what do you need for an esport, right? Like, well, one, skilled players and watchable gameplay.
Yeah, and money. You need money
coming up,
right?
Like, off of all the clips that you see from Splitgate 1, it's unwatchable if you don't know what's going on. If there's a spectator watching someone just finesse somebody with portals, it's going to be nothing. Casters are not going to know what to do. The director's going to be like, switch to some other guy, I guess.
Exactly.
There's no way to make it interesting.
And even before you get to that point, right? Like, organizations do not want to invest in a game that they don't think is going to be around for a while. And I'm not saying that this won't be around for a while, but there's definitely a big question mark there. These established titles, listen, each year they have an iteration. One year might be shittier than the other, but it's going to be every year, right? There's always going to be a COD. There's always a Battlefield. There's, Overwatch is always going to be around, like whatever it might be, but I'm not going to be trying to put together a Splitgate team, if I don't know if this is going to be around for more than a year or two. And if I'm a player, do I want to spend all this time trying to go pro in a game that could, by the time I make it to where I want to be, could just be defunct?
That's a great point.
I don't know.
I don't think the studio's even thinking about esports. I mean, they probably are a little bit, but I think their priority, and this has been like a just problem in gaming in general, and I think we've talked about it in a previous episode, is the too much focus on esports, making games too esports focused, too competitive, and kind of pushing out the casual players, who at the end of the day, that's where you're making your money, is your casual players, because they log on. There's more of them. They log on more consistently, and they're going to probably, they will spend money if they enjoy your game. A game like Splitgate, I don't think you can release that game with an esports mindset. You got to make a fun arcadey arena shooter first, and then you can tweak things to cater to the esports scene or the more competitive scene. I mean, that's what Halo 2 did, or that's what original Halo did. Bungie released a fun arena arcade shooter.
Well, what year was that?
2001 was when Halo 1 came out. 2004 was when Halo 2 came out.
So that's what I'm saying is it worked then, because this wasn't like it wasn't like beating a dead horse, and that's just what I'm saying. I don't think it's right or wrong, but I think you do have to try to, develop an esports scene, because every other FPS that you're competing with has that, right? And that's what they're doing. They're competing within their genre, or they're going to have to. And I think, being fun isn't just enough to keep people around for years and years. Like Apex. Like, how many times have you played Apex, even though every fiber in your body said you don't want to fucking play Apex?
Oh, I love, yeah. Well,
he's like, oh, every time.
I mean, it's pretty much every time.
Exactly. And why is that? Or why was that?
Because the game's fun as fuck. And I can't deny it's the best feeling game I've ever played.
Yeah, but what was your motivation to play? Right? You were trying to get wins. You were trying to gain rank. You're trying to gain whatever, right? Like,
you're competing.
Yeah, but I also and this is a testament to how well Apex is made. There just wasn't any other shooters in the market that felt as good to play.
Agreed.
For me, at least. So I think at the end of the day, like what Respawn did is they made a really fun game. They made a game that feels incredible to play, like the freedom of the movement, the gunplay, the characters, the personalities each character have. Like, they just made a fun game, and then the esports scene took off.
Yeah, but they made a fun game at the right time where there wasn't anything else like that, right? The other battle royale we were playing was PUBG, where you would drive in a car and you'd fall through the map, or you know what I mean? Like, you're like, you walk slow as shit. Like, yeah. My point is like, if you can get into like a space at the right time, you can be whatever, but it'll succeed. And I just don't think it really reinvents the wheel. And I don't think it's like going to drop at any time that's like, game changing. I mean, that's my point. I'm not saying it's going to be bad, and I'm not hoping that it sucks. I will play it, but I just think it's like too little, too late kind of thing. I think they would have been better going back to the drawing board and incorporating like a lot of the stuff that was good with Splitgate into something, a little different. I don't know what that is, but yeah, that's just my thought.
The one thing they have going for it right now is that there isn't a great arena shooter out in the market right now. Like, Black Ops 6 will come out and people will have fun with that. But you know how the Call of Duty cycle goes. You play it you have fun with it for a couple months, and then you wait for the new one to come out. Or you play Warzone. So whenever this comes out in 2025, I'm assuming, well, I don't know. I'm not going to assume. I'm thinking it would be around the holidays, but who knows? Unless there's an incredible arena shooter that comes out between now and then, like, they're going to have an opportunity to really capture that genre, that specific genre of arena shooter. And if they hit the nail on the head, if they release a game that's finished, that's content complete, and has limited bugs, hopefully no bugs on release, and is fun to play, like, they're going to have a good release. And then, hopefully everything else falls into place. Hopefully the devs do a good job of adding content somewhat frequently to keep players engaged.
So if there was a franchise of arena shooter that was going to release a successful game in 2025, what franchise do you think that might be? If we're saying maybe not Splitgate. Oh, is that considered an arena shooter? I don't really know where the lines are.
Well, I mean, I would say like at its foundation, it certainly is.
Traditional like Call of Duty game, like traditional Call of Duty multiplayer is an arena shooter.
Yeah,
and even the CDL, like the competitive league, is based in like search and destroy and like control, like stuff like that. Like it's based in the like 5v5 or 6v6 whatever game mode. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're again, and I'm not saying this as like this is how I feel. I just really don't see a world in which Call of Duty is really like ever dethroned unless they do something like crazy to implode, but they would have to do it to themselves, in my opinion. Right. I don't see a game coming out and just squashing them. They've just been around too long, and it's almost at this point like it's like psychological. I think there's just like some level of addiction, and just like how many people are just used to like this time of year, here comes more Call of Duty stuff. You know what I mean? It's like clockwork. Here's the hype. We pre-order, we get the game, blah, blah, blah. And then by like March, we're like, this shit sucks. And then summer comes and they're like, here's the next one. And it's.
Yeah. Like X-Defiant came out, and like that had its like maybe the first month where it was like, oh, this game's fun. A lot of people were talking about it. And then I haven't seen anyone talk about X-Defiant in weeks. I haven't seen it pop up on any of my socials.
Why do you think though?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's too much like Call of Duty, and people would rather just play Call of Duty.
That's my point. It's too much like any other just arena shooter. There's too many.
That's where a game like Splitgate has the advantage, because it's nothing like Call of Duty. It's a completely different aesthetic, completely different. It's more sci-fi.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I think X-Defiant was a dumb idea from the get-go, because they were just trying to copy a bunch of different games, and I don't know. It seemed like a cash grab, in my opinion.
So it sounds like you both think that if there was a franchise to release an arena shooter in 2025, the way for it to be successful is if it's Call of Duty.
Well, so no, it just has to be good and fun. But there's no franchise as big as Call of Duty that would release one that would catch people's attention as much.
No, I disagree. I fully go ahead.
I think if Quake released a new game in 2025, people would cream their pants. I'm people.
and you've already changed your pants.
Not standing up. Dude, if Quake came out with a new game, like if they released a new Quake next year, Splitgate's fucked. Like it just is.
When did the last Quake come out?
Here's the thing, though. My thing with Quake is I feel like that is like we're a couple gens back, like in terms of generations of gamers. So I think there's a certain demographic that would hit, but I don't know if those people have as much time as as Quake would want them to. So that's an interesting.
Yeah, I feel like the demographic is like us plus like 15 years, like that, like that range. Mm-hmm. And people still play Quake Live, and if they got their hands on a new Quake. But alas, I don't think that's not going to happen.
The last game came out in 2021. I mean, never say never. I mean, like we said, like Delta Force is based off a game that came out, in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. So
yeah,
I mean, I would say never say never. But I never actually played Quake. But what I've seen, it looks very Doom-esque. Is that accurate to say, or is that not?
I think that's just mostly the graphics.
Like gameplay-wise, it's not the same?
Yeah, gameplay-wise, I don't know what to compare it to. In my mind, it's like faster-paced Halo with the mechanics of Counter-Strike Source.
Ah, okay.
And the guns of maybe also Halo. Because there's like Halo. Electrical snipers and shit like that. So like maybe. I don't know.
Gotcha.
But that would be the only thing that I think could disrupt arena shooters should something happen.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's definitely an interesting thought. Again, I just don't know. I mean, I think if we're talking like if you're making a new game, who are you trying to cater to? You're probably trying to cater towards, I'm going to say, age range like 13 to 20, mid 20s ish, somewhere in that range, right? Like, and I think, we fail to realize that like we're old, and so like some of these IPs that are near and dear to us are not even on the radar of like people that are in the prime of gaming.
Yeah. What's crazy is that you make a game and you're catering to like like you're catering, if that demographic you just said is right, most of your audience, they don't have a full-time job. They can't even afford microtransactions. I mean, unless they're using their parents' credit cards. So wouldn't you want to make a game that's more catered to like the 22 to 40 range? Like
no
22 to 35?
No, I'll tell you why. Because like you just said, it doesn't matter that they don't have disposable income, because they're not developed enough to have like essentially like enough reasoning to say these are shitty purchases, right? And so yes, they do use their parents' money. And look at all like the things that are becoming like illegal with microtransactions, because it's essentially like you're kind of like brainwashing, you're like tricking kids. And I think the time is more important, right? They'd rather have you be able to sit on this game for 8 hours a day and maybe a couple times a month use mommy and daddy's credit card versus, us, we could spend whatever we wanted on the game, but we have like, 2 hours a night, and we tell ourselves no, because I got to go fucking buy groceries or something,
I got to buy some celery or whatever.
And then think about it too. Like, let's say like, 13-year-olds in like Fortnite, right? Oh, like I see that you have this skin. Now I'm buying that skin. Like, I think there's less of that as you get older and a little bit more mature. And I'm not putting anyone down or saying anything bad. I'm just, I'm sure these are things that they think of. Of course, they're things that they think about.
Yeah. And I don't disagree that 22 to 40 has more disposable income, but it's their own income, right? Like a 22-year-old is going to be like, am I about to spend 20 of my own dollars? Or would I be 16 and just spend 20 of my mom's dollars?
Yeah, but these parents are like,
Jackson.
Our generation, like when our generation has kids that are, in that 10 to 15 range and starting to really get into gaming, we're going to be keen on this shit. Like we know, like, oh, little Johnny wants to spend $100 on this new dance move in Fortnite season 150. I didn't do the math. So
when your kid comes up and asks for money enough to buy 50 hollow goobers, you're just going to say yes? I'm going to say
no. I'm going to say no.
How many hollow goobers is the line for these future kiddos?
He's got to get good grades first, or they have to get good grades first and do the chores, and then maybe daddy will fork over the credit card.
No. Ryan's going to be like, well, is the skin animated or not? Is this a recolor?
Is it glowing? Is it a recolor?
You get the hollow goobers when you get the win, Travis.
Look at it though. Fortnite's killed it. And what's the demographic of Fortnite? So I think that's all you need to really look at.
Yeah, nailed it.
That's true.
They nailed it.
Yeah, Fortnite is the exception. They really just took everything by storm. It's
not
a perfect
a pun, but
business.
It's a great pun.
Thank you. It's a perfect game for what it is, and it's a perfect business model. It's insane. I've said printing money a couple times already, but they are printing money with that game every day, every fucking day.
Yep.
So anyway, I hope Splitgate 2 doesn't die on arrival. I'm going into it with a lot of hope. Maybe hopium, maybe too much hopium, but once I get my eyes on gameplay, that'll be the teller for me, because they are apparently evolving the gameplay formula, which Derek, I know you were saying that watching like high level Splitgate gameplay was hard on the eyes. Apparently the portals are still in the game, but I don't know if they're going to be as prominent because they're adding factions to the game. So players will have, like, the characters you pick will have their own kind of unique abilities, but also everybody gets a portal gun.
Oh my
I
god!
think.
So we're back to this hero shooter.
Yeah, that
crap.
makes it worse
Yeah.
for me. I hate hero shooters.
I just think it's
Overwatch
like
kills
such
it
a,
for me.
It's a faction shooter, not a hero shooter. Because people were saying that in the initial trailer, and the devs were replying with, "It's not a hero shooter. It's not a hero shooter." Like X Defiant
Oh
was
yeah,
a hero
yeah, I
shooter.
see the difference.
I'm gonna save most of my judgment for until I see hands-on gameplay
Yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
people actually playing and not something scripted. But
And all we have is 2025 for this one.
2025 will it be early or late? I would say it's either going to be a spring or a fall release. It would be interesting if it released in the summer, but who knows?
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
We'll see.
if a game wants to make a splash, I think you do like a surprise drop in like end of June.
End of June. You think that's the ripe time?
Telling you, bro. Look, remember Apex? I forget exactly what month. They're probably like
February.
March-ish, February, March. But that was like the coolest release I can think of in like the last 10, 15 years in gaming. Like we just started, we literally were texting about it at work. Like, yo, like there's like some Titanfall like battle royale coming out like this week. Like what? And then like, dude, I don't know. It made such a splash, and obviously it's still, huge. That's just the kind of shit I want. Like, screw the hype.
I know.
Just drop something like on my head.
I personally like the hype though, especially if it's for a game that I'm excited to play. Like if Halo decided to drop, if 343 decided to drop a new Halo game tomorrow, I mean, I would be thrilled, but I would also be like, I miss like the months and months of hype, like watching trailers, watching video documentaries on the making of the game. I'm like, it's almost here. Let's gotta mark to my calendar.
Here.
It's only 2 months left. Only 1 month left. Only a week left. But I know what you mean, Chris. But a game like Splitgate 2 would behoove them to release it not during the fall when all the big games are coming out.
No.
Which they'll probably somehow fucking do.
Well, see, the problem is what Chris said before, right? If they didn't learn from their past mistakes, what makes you think that they're going to be able to make this?
Yeah, just because it's
This
prettier and maybe
decision
it's
on
a
when
little more
releasing.
fun. Like if you're still making the same mistakes, I think your fate is the same.
I don't know. They didn't really make mistakes. I mean, the game just didn't have any staying power. The game's not bad. We already said the game wasn't bad.
Yeah,
again.
I'm talking more about like if they think that releasing a sequel to that game. Granted, you did say that there are tweaks, but like that part of it, you know what I mean? Like the decision-making part of the machine.
Yes. And you kind of just said everything you need to know right there. You said the game wasn't bad. So it was a good game that still didn't work. And that's my point is, so I would almost be more optimistic if there were like some glaring issues that like, oh, we can totally fix like X, Y, and Z. And that would warrant a Splitgate 2. But it's like, you're right. I mean, there wasn't anything like glaringly atrocious or like bad with the game, and it still didn't survive. And that's kind of my point.
Yeah, it also came out like during their peak Apex, like peak, like Warzone had just come out, I'm pretty sure. So, or it was still early Warzone. So, I mean, if you were playing a shooter, you were most likely playing those two games at the time. So, and like I said, like the game just isn't. It's not very pretty to look at. It looks cheap,
Yeah,
and that probably turned a lot of people away. So
I could fix it for them. They just need to make it go mobile. Dude, mobile
Splitgate
games
mobile.
absolutely, they fucking do numbers.
Do they?
Oh.
Dude, crazy numbers.
All right, I've got it. I've got the business model. TM. I'm going to write this in a letter to myself and mail it. Okay. So you install Splitgate 2 on your phone. You want to go through a portal? Nope, you need another phone. We're collabing with Apple. We're saying we're driving your revenue. If people want to use portals, they got to have two phones. So when you go through the portal, you're on the other phone now. Foolproof. Esports.
That's high level right there.
2025, baby. Mark your calendar.
Second phone not included.
Well, you guys might be chomping at the bit to get to Splitgate 2, but if you want to split from your podcast app and come to our gates, you can find those at 5 o'clock sweats on Instagram, at 5 o'clock sweats on X. We are in video form on YouTube, in audio form on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get those dang things. What else we got?
Not a damn thing.
All right, well, here we go. We're warmed up. We got the chemistry. And, as always, stay sweaty.
Stay sweaty.
You know, I think I did rush that one. That one's on me.
There's definitely a delay because I'm saying it exactly as I'm hearing you guys say it, and then you're like, "Oh my god!"
So we're both in sync, but you're not.
Check probably because think about where you are.
Dude, we can prove this. Check this out. I'm going to count from 1 to 10, and you count along with me.
Okay.
Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, Chris, you count, and we'll count along with you. And listen to how bad this is.
All right.
1, 2, 3.
I can't even do it. You're like,
all right, Ryan, your turn.
Second after.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
See, he's slowing down because he's hearing us. He was like 1, 2.
It's just a little.
I couldn't even go because you guys were saying the last number as I was ready to say the next.
That's why I had to keep going like this because I'm like, I'm gonna fuck it up if I don't do this.
Yeah, we'll know
that
for
is
sure
exactly how much a delay is. Isn't that crazy?
That's hilarious.